So the next thing we need to do is talk about how to clean up when we find that we maybe made a mistake or we want to add like I definitely don't like what's going on with this hand. So haven't even determined what I want to do. I just know that I don't like what's there now. It looks like a claw or something weird. So what I want to do is zoom into that a smidge. And yeah, so here's a challenge though, because we adjusted the color. Remember we did that hue and saturation trick? So now, technically, if I start painting, and it's a little bit hard to see, but it actually doesn't match. It's a slightly different color. And if your original color was farther off than my initial color, you're gonna be way off. I wanna show you a couple different ways that you can address this. There's a very simple way, and then there's a more challenging way that you would need to do down the road. So the easy way is if you go up here to the swatches panel, it shows you the most recently used colors up here at the top. And if you don't have those available, then you can just go here to this menu and you want this option to have a check mark next to it, show recent colors. And choose the color that you painted with, right? And that's this guy right there for me. So I'm gonna just kind of paint at it and we can see that it totally matches. Now I was kind of playing around a little bit off screen, so I've got some extra colors in here that you can see. And also, if you realize way down the road, oh no, this hand is weird looking, or I missed this shoulder, or, in the past, I've had students in class that totally forget about the feet. So then how do you make the feet match the rest of the body? Well, another trick that you can use is that you can simply move back to your original default settings for the layer. So I'm gonna go here to color and change it to normal in my blending mode. And I'm also gonna put the opacity at 100, right? It was color in 39. I'm gonna just remember that. And then what you can do to select this exact color is you can choose this tool right above the brush called the eyedropper. You just click and that samples that color and brings it right into your panel. You can see that's my current color. And now with the brush, I can continue to paint. And I can also see, by the way, when I'm in this mode, these areas that I totally missed. And sometimes while I'm here, I'm just gonna do that. See this little mark on the arm that I missed? So I'll fix that. I'll fix this. I see a little here on the shoulder I missed. So you can just change the blending mode back to normal and your opacity up to the full 100%. And then you can suck up the color and kind of tweak things. And then to get it back to how it was, I'm just gonna go back to color, change my opacity back to 39 is where it was, and there it is. Now, the reason that you have to do that is if I use the eyedropper right now, it's gonna sample the color as it is. So it's gonna sample it with this toned down one. As a matter of fact, let's look at this foreground color right here. And let's just watch that. I'm gonna click on the eyedropper and I want us to pay attention to this foreground color here when I sample. And let's see what happens. It definitely changed, right? So you can see that you can't use the eyedropper once you change the blending mode and opacity. It's not gonna pick it up right. If you're lucky and it's during this session, you can go to your swatches and grab it. Otherwise, you can just switch back to normal and 100% and you'll be good to go. So the next thing that we wanna do is kind of enter rinse and repeat mode. What we want to do is color the whole ballerina. And in the next video, I'm going to tell you exactly how far you can go. I'm going to give you sort of 3 different levels. So what we're going to do is add a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer lipstick. And what I need to do now is I need to, obviously by the name, paint in the lipstick. So a couple things that I notice. First, I can notice that I painted skin color over the teeth and over the lips and everything. Also, I feel like I should put a little more here. So before I leave this skin layer, I'm gonna go back to the skin layer. I'm gonna just add a little bit more in here. And I need to go to my eraser tool now, and I need to erase. And it's important that we're on this skin layer because that's the layer where this paint is, right? It's the layer where we've added this color. And the beauty of layers, the reason it's such a great feature for Photoshop is that I can do this exact process. I can do whatever I want on this layer, and I can hide it. And look, my original image is not damaged at all. If I add the layer, all right, I can add it, I can turn it back, and we already saw that it's sort of magic where we can do this blending mode and the opacity. So now I want to, on the lipstick layer, I'm going to add some red. So I'll just kind of throw it up here to red, tell it okay. And I will just start painting, make sure that I'm on the lipstick layer, and I will start painting. Oh, and I should choose the brush tool. Painting with the eraser is not quite as vivid as painting with the brush. Okay, so my grandmother is starting to look like the Joker. So one way that I like to handle this a lot of times is you can just turn down the opacity. And this lets you really see clearly the original image, you know, and all the information beneath this layer. Opacity is basically the opposite of transparency. So when I turn down opacity, I'm turning up the transparency on this layer. Holy smokes, I am definitely making my grandma look like the Joker. So that's okay, I'm gonna just overpaint it a little bit. And first thing I wanna do is, this is still too vivid. So I'm gonna go through my blending modes some, just pick any one of them, and I can just kind of bounce around until, ooh, soft light looks really good. I think I need a little more color though, a little more opacity. I really like that. That looks, I think, really good. I think I like soft light the most. And this is, again, ladies and gentlemen, I could easily just tell you, put in this value and put in this value for the color and change your opacity to 26, but then you wouldn't know how to do it on your own for the next project that you do. This is how it actually works. When you get started in Photoshop, you're gonna start doing tutorials and stuff even after this book. And I remember starting and I was so confused. I was like, how do they know what settings to put in? How do they get these numbers? Do they have to memorize all of it? And they don't. They just kind of play around, and then when they see what looks cool, they just write down what the settings happen to be. So I'm gonna stick with soft light at 26 for that vivid red, and that's working great. I'm gonna zoom out. In the next video, we're gonna talk about everything that we need to do. I'm gonna give you sort of 3 options to finish this part of colorizing the photo.